We're going to look at problems from chapter 13. We start again with a very simple one. This corporation over here, MV Corporation, has a market value, its debt, its debt has a market value of 100 million. So that's the market value of debt. Its common equity has a book value of 100 million. That's the book value of equity. Preferred stock is 20 million outstanding. Its common equity trades at $50 per share, and the firm has 6 million shares outstanding. What weight should we use in the weighted average cost of capital? So the value of debt is 100. This is the market value. The market value is already given to us. Then the value of equity, common equity, the market value, book value is given, but we have to calculate market value. Market value would be the stock price times the number of shares outstanding. So it's 50 times 6 million. So that gives us 300 million. And then we have preferred stock. So value of preferred stock is already given as 20 million. So from this we can calculate the weight of debt is going to be 100, which is the market value of debt, divided by 100 plus 300 plus 20. Or another way of doing this would be to say that the market value of firm is 100 plus 300 plus 20, which is 420. So then we can calculate weight of equity, which would be 300 over 420, and then weight of preferred equity, which would be 20 over 420. So this is weight of debt is 23.81. Weight of equity is 71.43. And weight of preferred equity is 4.76. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward calculating the weights. Once we have the weights, then we know how to calculate weighted average cost of capital. It will be the weight of equity times the return on equity or the cost of equity, weight of debt times the cost of debt, weight of preferred equity times the cost of preferred equity. We have to be cognizant of one thing, whether we are factoring in the impact of debt, factoring in the impact of taxes or not in our debt calculation. This formula holds as long as we are not paying taxes. If we are paying taxes, then this formula would be WD-RD times 1 minus the tax rate. So depending upon whether we are paying taxes or not paying taxes will dictate ultimately the weighted average cost of capital. Okay, so let's take a look at problem number 3. How do we calculate the market value of equity? Again, what information is given to us? 1 million shares of common equity, book value of $1, retained earnings of 30 million, stock has a market value of $50 per share, There is 20 million of debt outstanding, but the debt is trading at 101% of par. So what is the market value of equity? Market value of equity would be the stock price 50 multiplied by the number of shares outstanding, which is 1 million. So that gives us 50 million. Market value of debt. In this case, it is given as 101% of par value. Because the debt is trading at 101% of par value. So 101% of 20 million, or 1.01 times 20, gives me 20.2 million. That's the market value of debt. So from this I can calculate weight of equity would be market value of equity divided by market value of equity plus market value of debt. So this would be 50 divided by 50 plus 20.2, which is 71.2. 71.2%, or 0.712. Since we only have equity and debt in our mix over here, once I calculate WE, then WD would simply be 1 minus 0.72, which would be 0.28. Or this is 0.712, sorry. So this would be 0.288. 288. Or I could have done it in this manner. WD is 20.2 divided by 50 plus 20.2, which would also be 0.288. Either way would give me the same answer. Let's take a look at problem number 5. We have, again, 10 million of debt issue, 6% coupon, semi-annual coupon. Next coupon is due in 6 months, it's semi-annual. Debt matures in 5 years. Currently it is priced at 95% of par value. So what's the pre-tax cost of debt? Pre-tax cost of debt essentially is equivalent to the bond's yield to maturity. So how do we calculate yield to maturity? We learned this in the bond pricing chapter. We have to find out P0, which is given as 95% of par value. So assume that par value is 100, then you can use 95 as the p-value. In your calculator, that would be present value. Coupon is 6%. 6% of par, so it will be 6% of 100, which would be $6. $6, which would be your payment. However, we have to bear in mind this is semi-annual compounding. Given that it's semi-annual, then the coupon would be divided by 2, because it's $6 per year or $3 every 6 months. Future value is 100, right? Because that's the par value. So par value is 100, which means 100 is your future value. And then the bond has time to maturity is 5 years. So n will be 5 times 2. Again, is 5 years or 10 periods. Right? So it will be, now all of that I can enter into my calculator. Clear everything, second, clear TVM. We need to bear in mind that the present value has to be entered as a negative sign. So 95 negative present value. 100 is my future value. 3 is my payment. 10 is my N. And I'm going to be computing IY. So when I compute IY, I get 3.60. 3.604. So that IY reflects the 6-month yield. So yield to maturity will be 3.604 times 2, which would be 7.208. So 7.208, that would be the yield to maturity if I simply double it based on this calculation. But if I want to calculate the effective annual rate, then I would have to do 1 plus 0.0364. I would have to raise this to the power 2, because there are 2 periods in that 1 year, and then I have to subtract 1 from it. So this will give me 0.0733, which gives you 7.33%. Slight difference between an EAR of 7.32 and a YTM just by doubling that number of 7.20. So if you want to be more precise, use 7.33, but if you want to be approximate, 7.20. And that gives you the pre-tax cost of debt. Once I have pre-tax cost of debt, then from there, calculating the after-tax cost of debt would be 7.20 multiplied by 1 minus the tax rate of 40%. So this approximately is about 4.40. 4.40% approximately. Okay. So from this tax rate, after tax cost of debt is equal to cost of debt times 1 minus the marginal tax rate. Okay, let's take a look at problem number 10. We have over here stock price, so P0 is $20. The firm will pay a dividend next year. So the key is dividend next year. So D1 is $1. Expected to grow at 4%. G is 4%. What is the cost of equity? We know the formula for stock price is D1 divided by R minus G. So that's 20. D1 is 1. R is, we don't know this. We have to calculate R. Minus G of 0.04. So R is going to be 1 over 20 plus 0.04. It's going to be 9%. So that's so RE is going to be 9%. Cost of equity, or RE is going to be 9%. Okay. Problem number 14. A lot more information given over here. So we can quickly translate this into variables. First is 40% financed with debt. That means 40% debt, 0.40. 10% preferred equity, 0.10. And then the remaining would be common equity. .5. Pre-tax cost of debt is 6%. Cost of debt 6%. Preferred stock has an annual dividend for the preferred stock is $2.50, and the preferred stock is priced at $30. So price of preferred stock is 30. Equity has a beta of 1.1. Beta of equity is 1.1. Assume that the risk-free rate, RF, is 2%, and the market risk premium is 7%. That means RM minus RF. RM minus RF, that number is 7%. Not RM. Since it says market risk premium, this is not the market return. And the tax rate is 35%, so the tax rate is 35%. What is the after-tax WACC? So, cost of debt, weight of debt, cost of debt times 1 minus t. Weight of equity, cost of equity. Weight of preferred equity, cost of preferred equity. So some of the information is given to us, and some of them we have to calculate. From this information, we have to calculate the cost of preferred equity. Price of preferred stock is dividend divided by cost of preferred stock. So we have been given D and the price, so we can calculate RPE as D over stock price. D over the stock price. So the cost of preferred equity would be 250 divided by 30, which is 8.33. Now from this information over here, we will have to calculate RE. RE would be RF beta times RM minus RF. Essentially, we are applying the CAPM model. So RF would be, risk-free return is 2%, beta is 1.1, and RM minus RF is already given as 7. So that's 9.7%. Now, it's just a matter of substituting everything into this equation. So weighted average cost of capital would be cost of equity 0.5 times 9.7. Return on equity is 9.7. Cost of weight of preferred equity was 0.1. Cost of preferred equity was 8.33. And cost of debt was 0.4. We multiply this by the cost of debt was 6%. already provided to us, 6%, and now the after-tax adjustment, which is 1 minus the tax rate of 35%. So if you do all that math, it comes out to 7.24%. 7.24%. So that completes the problem on chapter 13.